Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our Star Wars Resistance recap show, Viva la Resistance, right here on Dedicated Art. I'm your host for this week, Chris Doman. Here with me tonight, I've got Kees up in the top right corner, and on the top left side, he's back once again, ladies and gentlemen, Nico Suave Regole. And honestly, I think this might be a thing moving forward as this show continues and gets better. So, because you know what? Nico offers a lot of great insight, and, you know, the more shippers that we have of not just Kaz and Tora, which we'll get into that later.
No, Kazora. Use the ship name.
Well, yes. Well, here's the thing. No, we're still trying to decide, though, because is it Kazora or is it, what was the other name we decided? Tezudo. Yep. So it's one of those two. You know, and guys, seriously.
Either way, ship it.
We ship it. But, speaking of people who said this was going to be a bit of a derailing as we started, well, Kees, what were your initial thoughts on the mid-season finale of Season 1?
We have the episode Station Theta-Black, which... initially, we see Yeager, we see Tam, and we're like, hey, we have the crew back together. And then Cass goes off on this mission with Poe, and I'm like, oh, so Yeager, Tam, and Nico are not going to be... Okay. On the other hand, we get a great episode, I think.
We do, honestly. And Nico, what are your initial thoughts before we dive into this?
So, like, if I could summarize this episode in one word, is that what you're looking for?
I mean, you could go one
phrase.
What are your thoughts initially?
My initial thoughts are I can see why Poe Dameron was demoted by Leia in The Last Jedi.
Yes.
Because
we actually talked about that.
Because his actions seem a little reckless. And somehow Kaz, who Yeager always berates as being the irresponsible one, like he's trying to be the voice of reason here. And Poe does not want to listen, but still somehow Kaz dies almost more times than Poe does. So I don't know.
So I want to double back to what I literally said in the first ever review we did for this show, where one of the first things I said was, I am so happy that Poe is consistent with his Force Awakens character. Not his Last Jedi character, which, yes, this is the Poe Dameron that we got in Force Awakens. The cocky, hot-headed, great pilot who never took orders. This episode is going to lead to something great. We're not quite there yet, but that road is just building and building and building and building, and I'm getting excited. So, let's dive on in. So the episode starts out, as Kees mentioned, with, we're back on the Colossus with Yeager and Tam and Bucket, and next thing we know, we're off in space because Kaz is off with BB-8 in the Fireball. One problem, the stabilizers were not installed. So we have a fun moment there, but who should come to Kaz's rescue other than Poe Dameron and the Resistance and... Guys, she's in the thing over there in the graphic. Leia!
I legit had a freak out moment over that.
He did, and it was glorious.
Yeah, like I still tear up when I see her because of what happened. Leia is a phenomenal character. Whenever she shows up, it just warms my heart. She's a great character, and I just love seeing her in this episode.
My first thoughts when I saw her were my queen, and then I was like, no, that's her mother. She was the queen. Leia was the princess. And I'm like, but it feels weird to call her a princess these days. So, yay, General Leia is here. Yay.
Well, to me, she's royalty.
That's the other line I thought of.
Yes, absolutely. And, for me, it's the same way because literally Leia is one of the first female characters of film that I ever got to know, and because of that, I truly have an appreciation for women, and she's responsible for that, for implanting that in the little 3-year-old me. So thank you, Carrie Fisher. You are amazing.
Who voiced this version of Leia.
Whoever voiced her, that was a damn good impression. Really,
Yes,
the voice was really close.
Oh my gosh! Like for a split second, I thought I was hearing Carrie Fisher. For a split second, I'm like, oh, that's okay. And then you start to hear the impression as she continues on. But so Kaz meets up with her, and then he brings her the tape of the proposal that the First Order made from the last episode. So, continuity. Yes, baby. Where have you been in Star Wars? Because, sorry guys, sometimes it's been a little shaky these past couple, seasons of television and movies.
Well, to be fair, look, especially in the Clone Wars, that was created by George Lucas, essentially. And George Lucas never cared about continuity. He cared about telling a story. And that story, yeah, it was sometimes not entirely in line with what has happened in the rest of the universe. So they didn't really care. With Rebels, they got more on track, but there still are a couple of little moments where it's questionable. Yeah, you don't want those questionable moments. And Resistance so far has been really smooth. Like, continuity is on point.
It is on point with how smooth it's been.
The two masters of continuity under the Disney umbrella, Kevin Feige and Dave Filoni. Like, they know how to tell a story together long term and put it together so that all the pieces, maybe not always properly, but they fit well enough that you don't mind if the puzzle doesn't look totally perfect. But Filoni knows what he's doing.
After this great scene where we are introduced to Leia for the first time, then Poe and Kaz are sent on a mission to what seems to be an abandoned First Order base. But they are given one condition. Do not engage the enemy. It's a surveillance mission only. But does our reckless hotshot pilot actually care for...
Hey, there's this rule in the military, only engage when fired upon. So I think he kind of, it's Poe.
It's Poe.
It's his interpretation of the rules.
Who else but Dameron?
He's Dameron. Dameron.
You never really know what he's going to do next. Okay, anyway, sorry. Okay, back on topic. So they get to this base, and after CB-23 does this scan that says, there's no life signs, there's no active droids, then hey, why don't we go take a look inside? And of course, Kaz. I'm starting to love this character more and more because he is such a voice of reason. Like, usually it's the main character who is always messing up and screwing things up, right?
It's Poe this time.
This time it's Poe, and I'm like, that is so refreshing because growing up on kids shows, what'd you always see? Main character, total idiot, total nincompoop. Not even close this time. So
have you seen Pokemon?
I'm the hotshot that doesn't follow the rules.
Exactly.
Yeah. But we're starting to get some more of the lore. Because the whole time you're asking yourself, so with this whole, gaseous asteroid belt that they're in, what were the First Order doing there? Nobody knows. And to be fair, we get an answer, but it's not really the answer.
That's not the answer.
It's not the answer, which is
the moment that they look into the computer and they actually this is what they're doing. I was like, that's not what they were doing. That's just that's the top of the iceberg, and exactly. the rest of the iceberg that's not revealed because of course it's blown up.
Because thank you, and seriously, showrunners, that's how you keep intrigue going in a story. Don't tell everything at once. Because, again, sorry, Kees, but Rebels did that one too many times. Starting out. It got better as the show went on. But I feel like in season 1 especially, sometimes the things were just a little too easy. It seems.
No, season 1 has issues, especially the first half of that season.
Yeah.
So, considering the first half of this season of Resistance, this first half is better. I really wonder how the second half is, because the second half of Rebels, that is top-notch story writing.
That made up for it. Oh my god, that made up for it. So, we'll just have to see. But then we get to one of my favorite moments of this entire episode, which is, the droid that was, inactive, shut down, but then it springs back, and Kaz is just useless in trying to shoot this thing. Because the whole time I'm thinking, wait, Poe.
I haven't seen you trying to shoot it. Poof. Okay, he's gone. That's Poe.
That's Poe. I don't know. Like Nico, was it funny, or was that too on the nose in terms of trying to be funny, or was it just right for you?
I kind of saw that coming as soon as Kaz said, "I don't see you doing anything." I just thought, okay, we're going to get the Indiana Jones moment where he just pulls out the gun, shoots it, and then he's like, there. It was that easy. Yeah, to agree with you, Kaz was kind of useless in this episode, at least in terms of, like, the fight scenes.
Yes.
And there were times when I remember when he was running away from the troops, when they started chasing him, he just starts screaming and flailing his arms about like Carl Weezer from Jimmy Neutron. And I'm just like, wow, okay. Now, you're a bit of a weenie, but you're still respectable.
Well, and actually, it's funny to bring that up, because I would 100% agree with that if he didn't come up with that awesome crane move towards the end of the episode to get Phasma and the Stormtroopers off their back. Like, because that's him using his head and trying to... Because obviously, it's starting to become clear that Kaz is not a violent person. Like, he doesn't want to take a life if he doesn't have to. Poe, on the other hand, he has no remorse. He'll shoot Stormtroopers left and right. Kaz, I think, maybe to a fault.
That's understandable because, Tora Doza, she's been doing her own digging into who Kaz is, and he left the Navy. He left the Republic Navy. So obviously the soldier life is not for him, and part of that soldier life is having a little bit of lack of remorse because you have to do what it takes to get the job done.
Yeah.
And Poe has that. Kaz kind of does not. He has a bit more compassion to him. He was quick on his feet there. So like when he's able to calm down, he's good on his feet. But when the fear is just like slowly shooting through him, slowly to quickly, he can be a bit useless. So panic mode, that's the Kaz you don't want. No. When he's relaxed and he's had a moment to figure out his surroundings, that's the Kaz you do want.
Yeah, the thing with Kaz is he left the Navy for a reason. He is very young. I think he's like 19 years old. So that just means that he is still extremely young, and he's kind of like Finn in The Force Awakens. The moment that he sees violence, he just doesn't want that. He doesn't want to do violence, like spying. Like there's an excitement about him spying on the First Order and actually doing some stuff for a certain faction. But to actually have deaths on his hand, that is something a lot. Yeah, just that's a step too far for him. And like he does get a blaster. But he doesn't really use it. He doesn't really shoot at the Stormtroopers to actually kill them because that's not how Kaz is. And that shows throughout this episode. He doesn't want to do that. Poe, a lot more older, a lot more experience. He's used to that stuff. And he's like, I don't care if I kill a First Order someone. If it makes sure that I live, fine. So, yeah, you do see the difference in character, and yeah, it is a kind of a role reversal because we are used to having our protagonist, the young guy, being reckless, I'm going to go into the action and whatnot. Kaz is a little less like that. He is like, I'm not going to kill someone just because I don't like him. So...
See, now,
I mean, it's an interesting perspective to have that in a kid's show, especially like compared to an Ezra or an Anakin in Rebels and Clone Wars.
Yeah, no, I think now, okay, I'm about to super over read into this, but you know what? Screw it.
You always do these things.
Exactly. That's just the way that my brain works. And I think this is just like Disney XD's newest way of saying, like, hey, we love cartoons from the 80s, and this show absolutely has the feel of a cartoon from the 80s. But
it does? I don't know. I wasn't around at that time. I don't know what cartoons from the 80s feel like.
we are 90s kids. Yes, we know.
Yeah, but I've seen enough 80s tunes in my life to at least, have some form of idea what I'm talking about here. And if you watch a lot of those cartoons from the 80s, like, you'll notice that a lot of the morality of especially the main characters is very let's just say messed up. And as we continue to progress as a society and we continue to, try to actually talk to our kids, but not, dumbing it down with shows like Avatar and whatnot, what I think is starting to happen is now, again, as part of the progression, as part of, growing as a people, now we're starting to tell people, hey, violence isn't always the solution. Which, again, for a kid's show, especially for one with the Star Wars brand attached, that is so refreshing to see.
If you consider some of the movies, like nowadays, a nipple on screen scene will be rated R. Or more than 2 F words will be rated R. But any kind of action, no, that's fine. You can do that PG-13, maybe even PG. That's no issue. It's like, guys, this is extremely ridiculous compared to what we're showing. What we were showing in the 80s, like you brought up the 80s. Like in the 80s, a nipple on screen, who cares? Not a big deal. I mean, if it's
Howard
just
Duck.
Exactly. No. It's ridiculous.
But it's true.
I know. But it's true. Like, stuff like that we could get away with in the 80s, but not right now, because for some reason, nudity and curse words, no, those are the worst things. But actually, brutal action sequences or people getting killed left and right, no, that's no big deal. It's like, just the hypocrisy of this all is just, it's really ridiculous. What do you have, Chris?
To reference the where we got the name of this show from, the United States has graphic violence on television all the time. We can't believe that a movie with some foul language would piss you all off so much. No, can I finish, please? Can I finish? Okay, now back to where we actually were.
Okay,
so I just have one more point.
Please, Nico.
You mentioned that Kaz is being the character who's portraying the message. Violence isn't always the answer. That's ironic simply because the name of the franchise is Star Wars.
Well, yes, but remember, because this is like an offshoot of an offshoot. So, and here's the thing. What's the point of a war if you don't learn from it?
Okay. I like that.
So, and it's just the only difference is versus, fighting 2 world wars back to back in the 10s and in the 40s. Instead, we have a galactic civil war that was produced from a clone war that happened 20 years prior, and then we're, about to start a 3rd civil war right in the same galaxy. Because literally,
well, they're all based off actual real life events. It's essentially like the original trilogy, The War There, was based off World War II. So then you pander like the Clone Wars after World War One, and you do this conflict that we have right now of the Resistance versus the First Order. That is more the Cold War.
Or it's simply the Trump fan base versus sane people.
Can we just not mention?
You're right, but woo, that is hot.
Permerson, that's how you do a hot take.
Okay, so to continue on with the episode, so it turns out that droid that got blown up. Oh, it reported back all right. So in a moment, straight from Empire, who else should pick up the message but Captain Phasma, who Thank God.
On Starkiller Base.
On Starkiller Base. Like, we see Starkiller right there, right in front of our faces. And I'm like, what? Awesome. So, Phasma and her pilot buddy, and I'm totally blanking on his name.
Hey, Major Von Vag, you are welcome.
Thank you. So they head off to the base, and they're basically off to go blow it up as covering up their tracks. Which then leads to an actually really fun chase sequence between Poe, BB-8 Kaz, and the First Order. And I gotta say, this is the Captain Phasma I wanted from the films. I wanted to see Captain Phasma do this kind of stuff in the films. Because she just straight up didn't get enough screen time to do anything.
She got less than 2 minutes of screen time in The Force Awakens, and she didn't get much more in The Last Jedi, and that is in a 2 hour 7 and a 2 hour 20 movie.
Yeah.
So basically 3 minutes in all of 4.5 hours.
Yeah. But here she had almost like 8 minutes of, doing something. That was so nice. Like, Nico, again, as a fellow fan of the sequel trilogy, like, was it was it refreshing for you as well to see Phasma doing stuff, or were you just like, eh?
For me, it still felt like she wasn't doing a whole lot here. She was definitely doing more than she did in the movies, but for me, chasing Kaz and Poe and the typical stormtrooper trope of firing your blaster repeatedly and not hitting anything.
That's what stormtroopers
I was about to say, Kees got so mad about that, it wasn't even funny. Now, as everybody's making their escape, we go back to the Resistance base, or to the Resistance fleet, and I can tell right now that we're going to be seeing a lot more Leia, and I'm happy about that. We're also going to be seeing a lot more interactions of Kaz and Leia, and I'm really happy about that. Plus, I have a feeling that all that stuff that I was saying about the First Order coming to the Colossus and blowing it up, I think it's going to happen sooner in the season than I realize.
Maybe not season finale?
Maybe not. It might even be sooner than that. Because they are hammering it home the vibe that we're going to be spending a lot of time with the Resistance fleet after Season 1.
We have to. That's the point.
So it's kind of going to be a little bit like what they did with the Freemaker Adventures, where they spent Season 1 on the wheel, and then they spend a lot of Season 2 with the Rebel Alliance.
Yeah, exactly. So, I guess Rebels kind of did the same thing with Lothal. Sort of.
Well,
Actually,
the thing that I was a little disappointed by with Rebels was that they had the potential to go away from Lothal, and they were hinting, like, the first season takes place pretty much entirely on Lothal, and the second season they're a lot less there, and they're more on Gravel, and then they get to Adelon in season 3, and then when Adelon didn't play out the way they wanted, they go back to Lothal in season 4, and it's like, oh, so now we're back on Lothal in season 4. What I wanted more was just more of, like, interaction with the movie stuff, and I wanted to actually see the Battle of Scarif from the Rebels' perspective with Hera and Chopper and whatnot over there. That would have been awesome to see. It's just we didn't get that, and I think that we might actually get it with Resistance this time, where we are now moving away from the Colossus. That's going to be done at the end of the season, and then you can move into what we are seeing in the movies, The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, which is stuff that I am desperate to see, really.
And you brought up Garel, and that's what I was trying to think of. I'm like, oh crap, I wasn't in that plan. But yes, how just randomly at one point in the season, all of a sudden, here comes the Empire, and just they rain down hell upon everyone. I'm like 98% sure that same scenario is going to happen. Random episode, bam. So that's kind of my final prediction for where the rest of this half of the season is going to go. Because, guys, I'm just going to come out and say it. I love this show. I love this show.
I think we all do.
If we didn't, we wouldn't do this show.
This is
Well,
true.
I mean, if I only liked it, I'd still do this show happily. But, dude, this is see, okay, Kees, like this, I could tell right now. This is going to be for me what Rebels is for you.
I don't know if that's the case, because I do agree with you that Rebels didn't have the best of starts. Neither the Clone Wars, and actually Resistance does. Like both Rebels and Clone Wars have issues in their first season. While Clone Wars doesn't fix that in the first season, it fixes that in the second season, and then comes back, especially in the third season, and then continues onward. So Clone Wars does get great after a couple of seasons. It's just getting in there takes a while. Rebels gets great in the second half of season 1, but then also like has some hits and misses. And Resistance so far, to me, didn't really have that many misses. I don't really see any filler. I see a great story with great characters being told. So I'm like, yeah, this is a great show. I love this show. I want to see more of the show. I want to show this to everyone who's a fan of Star Wars, who's a fan of animated TV shows, essentially, because this is a great show. Anyone who's saying that it's not a great show, you're kidding yourself. You are lying to yourself, and seriously, just watch the actual show, because it's great. And I want to see where it goes to. I want to see what Yeager has planned with his brother for the rest of this season. I will say season because we don't expect him to live much longer than that. And it's gonna be really painful when that happens. But it's gonna be a Kanan Jarrus scenario. Because, yeah, the same happened with him. I can't wait to see what Tam, Nico, the rest of the supporting cast does. I can't wait to see Kazora. I'll just call it Kazora. I want to see that pan out. Also, I do want to touch on the droid romance. Like, as great as Kazora is, I think the droids have better chemistry, and they didn't mess up yet. That's the thing. Kaz messed up. This droid didn't mess up yet. So BB-8 and the other droid,
CB-23.
There we go. So BB-8 and CB, that works well. I want to see more of that, actually, strangely enough. So I'm really excited about the second half. I think there's a lot of potential, a lot of great episodes to be had. And especially, of course, with more Phasma and more Poe, because, look, I do want to see these new characters, but I also want to see the returning characters from the movies that we already know, to see what they are up to just before The Force Awakens, the events of that. So I'm excited for the rest of the season. I love this show because of, well, the new characters and the old characters, and I just want to see it.
All right, and Nico, my friend, why don't you give us your final thoughts on the episode, and give us your final thoughts on the first half of the season.
On the episode, we mentioned earlier tropes, classic Star Wars tropes that found their way into this episode. One of them was stormtroopers can't hit anything. But another was we got a lot of classic lines from Poe and Kaz in the
I
spaceship.
predicted one of them. Chris, what was it?
He really did. It was loud and clear.
Yeah.
Or no. Yeah, because, loud and clear, kid.
Do you read me? Loud and clear, Kit. What's up? Yeah.
Yeah, we got loud and clear. We got hold tight. We got I can't shake them, or at least a version of that, which was really cool. And the using the asteroids for cover. That's kind of a throwback to Attack of the Clones, and also I think to Empire Strikes Back as well, or at least a version of it, because hiding in the trash as it's being sent out to space. That's kind of similar. Yes, we just float away. So I like that they did those throwbacks to a lot of the stuff in Star Wars that we like, but they didn't beat us over the head with them. It shows that, again, George Lucas was a big poetry guy. He was a fan of history repeating itself, and this is an example of how no matter what era of Star Wars we're in, things will always find their way that we've seen before into the newer eras.
Life will find a way.
Oh, jeez.
Jeff Goldblum.
Hashtag wrong franchise.
But we love him. Anyway.
There's a throwback for you, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Well, I think
one more thing.
Dude.
I'm also shipping that BB-8 CB-23 romance, but I'm very scared. I'm very scared for that because I feel like CB-23 might be one of the characters that doesn't make it to the end of this season, and I like because I don't know if they're gonna want to kill off a human character first, so I feel like a droid character dying might be what they decide to do for season 1. And unfortunately, I think it might be CB-23 because we know that BB-8 lives into The Force Awakens and to Last Jedi. So, yeah, you put those shades on so you can hide your tears. I don't blame you for doing that because I would be crying too as soon as that moment happens. I really hope it doesn't happen. I just think that's where it's going to go. I think they're getting us hyped up for a romance that's going to end in tragedy.
I almost played that straight. I almost did, but I cracked. I cracked too soon. But yeah, no, absolutely. Oh my god, those two are just so adorable. All right, you two love droids, break it up. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in for this little bit of Viva la Resistance, our Star Wars Resistance recap show. We'll be back as soon as the second half of the season starts, which I think we're taking only like a month-long break.
Yep.
January. So we will be back in January with this particular show, but between now and then, we still have so much more content to come out. We have more Schmodown reactions, we have more episodes of the Who Cares Anyway podcast, and, I don't know, there's some other crap that might pop up. But between now and then, Nico Suave Rigoli, Mr. Long-Ass Plugs, let's get you out of the way first. Where can good folks find you online?
Where's Michael Campbell with the stopwatch? You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube at Nico Suave Rigoli. That's NicoSuaveRegoli. You can find me over on Film Nerd TV, helping Hunter Chambliss out with Combat Zone Wrestling Trivia, as well as the Week of Wrestling podcast. The name is very self-explanatory. Andrew Hayes was the host in my place for this week. And you can find me right here at Viva la Resistance over on Dedicated to Art. And you can find me over at Multiplex Entertainment. That's the name of the Facebook group. And the YouTube channel, the Twitter is at MultiplexYT. The Instagram is Multiplex Entertainment Network. The TeePublic is just Multiplex. We have awesome shirts. Case Corner Lifestyle has a shirt as well, so go buy that. In terms of the schedule, Monday is Movie Warzone, Tuesday is TV Throwdown, Singles and Fandom Divisions. Sports Battlefield is on Wednesday. Thursday there are two different shows. One, we have the Co-Hoskers hosted by Jake Marangoni and Caleb Coho. When you don't want to watch that show, you can instead watch Crisis on Earthplex with me and Zadia Seaman Smith. That's our Arrowverse discussion show. The big 3-night crossover just started at the night we are recording this particular episode. So, yeah, we're going to discuss Elseworlds in the next episode. Friday is Phantom Fight. We just had Championship Week. These two were a big part of it, so go watch those episodes. Saturday is Nerdgasm. Apparently it's coming back, and Cody Newberry is running it. God help us all. And on Sundays, we wrap it all up in a nice little bow with my recap show Around the League with Nico. And finally, the John Regoli Memorial Trivia-thon for Thon, running from January 21st to January 27th, competing in Multiplex, Full Metal, Combat Zone Wrestling Trivia, and Jukebox Trivia, raising money for the Four Diamonds Pediatric Cancer Research Fund in partnership with Penn State Thon, and in honor of my father who passed away this past year due to cancer. So it's a family affair. But those are my plugs. How'd I do?
A minute 40 and I started late.
Woohoo!
Those are plugs, man.
Those are some plugs. Holy jeez. All right. And Kees, where good folks find you online?
As Nico mentioned, I was in Title Week. I didn't do too hot though, but I was there. And I'll be back next year for maybe some more title matches because I'm fucking good at this stuff. So just check it out. Anyway, I am. You can find my girlfriend. Be here with me on videos next week because she's coming here next weekend, and yes, she will actually be joining us for some videos, Schmodown reactions, live shows, those kind of things. So check those out, and of course check out the Schmodown reactions that we're having this coming week. I think we have like a number one. Some matches to decide a number one contender match and to decide a title match. So that's kind of important, I think.
That's kind of important. Just a little bit.
Check out those reactions. Check out the new live show that we actually came back with last week. And check out me on Twitter, at Dutch Movie Guy. Facebook, Kees Cornelis. As always, you should know how to spell it. If you don't, then you're just a moron by now. So that's it. Chris.
Oh, man. You guys can follow me
Yes, I said that.
You guys can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Stardust, at Skywalker Domain. You guys can follow this very channel on Twitter and Instagram, at D2A Channel. Please like our Facebook page. You can follow my band, Silver Nightfall, all across social media at Silver Nightfall. And yes, guys, please go support Multiplex Entertainment. We love them. We love to support them. And we love competing. And yeah, of course, I'll be back in fandom, singles, and teams next year because, damn it, Case and I want those belts. And you know what? Screw it, baby. Warzone, bring it on! I'm ready. Woo. I'm ready to actually come back to trivia. I'm ready to dedicate myself back to this. And as always, you can find me on the Schmodown Reactions with Case, co-hosting this wonderful show, Viva la Resistance, and of course, hosting my show, the Who Cares Anyway podcast. I'm ready. I'm excited. Guys, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share, and hey, if by the end of season 1 we can talk to just somebody from the show, that would make my life. So share this out. Hashtag Viva la Resistance. Go tag all the cast members. Let's make it happen. Viva la Resistance.
And may the force be with you always.
Take care.
Yeah!